Good evening, viewers. Tonight's top story reveals how a single tariff can shake an entire industry and reshape the global economy. We're examining the complex web of US-Canada trade relations that's currently impacting North American markets. Canada serves as the primary market for 34 US states, from the northern borders down to Mississippi and Florida. Each Canadian province has unique trade partnerships with different US states, creating one of the world's most intricate economic relationships. But this system is now under threat. What started as a routine trade dispute has escalated into a serious confrontation, affecting industries, jobs, and commodity prices. While Trump's aggressive stance made headlines, many American leaders have used tariffs to advance global interests. In 1929, the market crash led to the Great Depression. President Hoover's Smoot-Hawley Act raised tariffs by 20%. Canada, France, and Spain retaliated against American exports. Canada targeted 16 American products, representing nearly a third of U.S. exports. In 1982, lumber became controversial. The U.S. claimed Canada's state-regulated pricing system gave unfair advantages over American producers. This sparked decades of tariff battles. Today, Canadian lumber faces a 25% tariff, yet the U.S. still imports nearly half its lumber from Canada. In 2002, President Bush imposed steel tariffs to boost domestic production, triggering European retaliation. Although Canada and Mexico were exempted, global trade tensions rose significantly. The Trump administration targeted solar panels and washing machines in 2018, primarily affecting Chinese exports. China responded with retaliatory tariffs on American sorghum at 178%, followed by strikes against U.S. soybeans and aircraft manufacturing. This pattern shows that trade wars, once started, tend to escalate unpredictably, affecting global supply chains and economic stability. Stay tuned as we analyze these developing trade dynamics and their impact on your daily life. In a concerning development for North American trade relations, former President Trump's proposed new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports are threatening to reignite a devastating trade war. The plan includes a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports from Canada and Mexico, potentially leading to cumulative tariffs of up to 50%. Economic experts warn that history may be repeating itself. Previous tariffs imposed in 2018 had severe consequences, causing the loss of 75,000 American manufacturing jobs by mid-2019, according to economists Katie Russ and Lydia Cox. Canadian steel exports to the U.S. plummeted by 40%, while aluminum shipments were cut in half, reaching decade-low levels by May 2019. The impact on Canada's workforce was equally devastating. The previous round of tariffs forced 2,000 workers out of their jobs and pushed 500 companies to seek emergency government support, according to Canadian Labour Congress President Babe Bruske. The situation is particularly critical given America's significant dependence on Canadian aluminum. In 2024, Canadian aluminum imports reached 3.2 million tons, doubling the combined imports from the next 9 countries. Quebec, the primary source of these imports, is considering countermeasures, with Premier François Legault suggesting potential export tariffs on aluminum products. The automotive industry stands as one of the most vulnerable sectors in this trade dispute. The deeply integrated supply chains between the US, Canada, and Mexico mean that automotive parts frequently cross borders during production. Any disruption could have far-reaching consequences for manufacturers and consumers alike. While Canadian officials continue diplomatic efforts in Washington, historical precedent suggests that diplomacy alone may not prevent economic damage. These tariffs represent real threats to jobs, industries, and the complex supply chains that have developed over decades of North American economic integration. Breaking news: trade tensions escalate as auto industry faces unprecedented tariff impact. In a developing story affecting North American manufacturing, automotive parts crossing the US-Canada and US-Mexico borders could face up to 8 separate tariff charges before final assembly, industry experts warn. This complex web of fees stems from President Trump's proposed tariff policies, threatening to reshape the automotive landscape. Analysis shows new vehicle prices could surge by $3,000, with pickup trucks and SUVs seeing increases up to $10,000, according to Wolf Research. This impacts both consumers and American competitiveness. The implications are staggering, says analyst James Morton. Canada and Mexico represent nearly half of all U.S. automotive trade. These aren't just foreign markets. They're integral to our manufacturing ecosystem. Steel imports, particularly flat-rolled steel for vehicle manufacturing, are another concern. Canada and Mexico supply about 40% of U.S. steel imports. The proposed 20% tariff on Canadian and Mexican steel would significantly impact production costs. While tariffs are promoted as protectionist measures benefiting domestic industry, investigation reveals a more complex reality. The short-term boost in protected sectors typically leads to job losses elsewhere, creating what economists call a shell game with employment. Meanwhile, Canada is positioning itself as a powerhouse in the electric vehicle supply chain, holding vast reserves of critical minerals, cobalt, graphite, lithium, and nickel, essential for EV batteries. Canada isn't just another trade partner, explains Dr. Sarah Chen. It's one of the few Western nations with all four critical battery materials in abundance. This positions them perfectly for the clean energy transition. The country ranks second globally in uranium production for aerospace applications and fourth in indium production, vital for electronics. These resources could become leverage points in trade negotiations. We'll continue monitoring impacts on consumers and industries across North America. Critical minerals and energy, Canada's trump card in U.S. trade dispute. Canada has identified 34 critical minerals essential for future economic growth, with 21 already in production. This development emerges as trade tensions with the United States escalate under renewed tariff threats. Joanna Kyriazis, Director of Clean Energy Canada, emphasizes these minerals as Canada's primary leverage in the trade dispute. "We have what the world needs, something few others possess," she told the National Observer, suggesting U.S. tariffs could backfire if Ottawa restricts supply. China remains dominant, processing 60–70% of global lithium and cobalt supplies, while controlling 90% of rare earth elements crucial for semiconductors. Beijing's recent export restrictions could inadvertently strengthen Canada's position. The International Energy Agency projects the global critical minerals market could double to $770 billion by 2040. Market reactions are visible, with Tesla shares dropping 5%, leading a broader EV sector decline. GM and Toyota fell 3%, while Alpine saw a 4% decrease. Canada's strongest leverage lies in energy resources. As the world's fourth-largest oil and sixth-largest natural gas producer, Canada exports nearly 4 million barrels of oil daily to the U.S. Notably, 70% feeds Midwest refineries, making them vulnerable to supply disruptions. Phillips 66 warns that tariffs could force Midwest and Rocky Mountain refineries to cut production due to limited alternatives. These facilities, designed for Canadian heavy crude, could face operational challenges. The situation highlights the complex interdependency between both nations, with Canada holding significant leverage through minerals and energy resources. As tensions persist, Ottawa must decide how to utilize these strategic assets in response to U.S. tariff threats. This scenario underscores the delicate balance in North American trade relations, where economic measures could impact both nations' industrial sectors and energy security. Trade war tensions escalate. Canada's unity strengthens against U.S. tariffs. In a remarkable display of national solidarity, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has successfully transformed the ongoing trade dispute with the United States into a rallying point for Canadian unity. Recent polls show an overwhelming 80% of Canadians reject any notion of unification with their southern neighbor, even as economic pressures mount. While theoretical scenarios of U.S.-Canada unification would require congressional approval, the real concern lies in economic implications. With 3/4 of Canadian exports destined for U.S. markets, increased tariffs threaten to devastate Canadian businesses and jeopardize jobs. Provincial authorities have launched Buy Canadian campaigns to keep money within national borders, while citizens have cancelled U.S. travel plans in protest. On both sides of the border, businesses await the next development in this economic standoff. The crucial question is, what lies ahead for North America's economic future? Even if the trade war ended immediately, the damage is significant. Supply chains face disruption, and experts suggest years of recovery ahead. Canadian officials are exploring strategic responses, potentially leveraging their country's vast mineral and energy resources. This situation mirrors tensions in other global trade disputes, affecting regions worldwide. The implications extend beyond North America. Global supply chains, particularly in critical minerals and manufacturing, face strain. The automotive and steel industries now navigate uncertain waters. As businesses and consumers grapple with these challenges, the question remains: is this political theater, or are we witnessing an economic crisis? The answer may shape international trade relations for generations. This situation continues to evolve, highlighting the balance between political posturing and economic reality. The coming months will prove crucial in determining whether diplomatic solutions can prevail over protectionist impulses.